Emerald and Green. It's Mrs. Ludlow here with our maths lesson today. We're going to start off with our arithmetic, doing our 4s and 8s, and then some little sequences for addition for silver, and then some mix of multiplication using your knowledge for higher numbers. And there's ones there where you might actually chunk as well with some groups of 10 with number 6 on gold, 10 lots of 4 plus 6 lots of 4, so have a little go of those as well. And pause the video now and get ready to have a look at the answers in a minute. Right, here we go with the answers. We've got those higher sets of multiplications in the 6s, 7s and 8s. They're really useful because once you know lots of those, you won't need to learn the 6s or the 7s. You'll know all the facts. So there's the silver, and there is a little pattern going on in there. If you look at the units, they're going up in 1s and the others are going up in 30s. So the 10s and the 100s are going up, or the 10s are going up in 30s, and then they cross over to the 100s. And then gold, we've got some answers there. So you've got 10 times 4 for number 6 is 40, plus 6 times 4, which is 24. So you can partition those higher numbers. It's almost like instead of using a multiplication grid, so you can do those in your head. So we're going to look at volume today, and we're going to solve these volume word problems. So we're carrying on really from yesterday's work, although we've got some two-step problems going on in our work today. So this one is very similar to the work that we'll be doing today, and have a go at this. We've got the volume in Gill's plastic bag is 250 less than Bloat's, the pufferfish. So here is Gill and his black and white, fish. So he's in a smaller bag than Bloat. Okay, so if you imagine your bar model of this being a smaller number, it's 250 less than Bloat's bag. So it looks as though you're going to be doing a subtraction operation for those, and see if you can get the answer right. Okay, we'll put the answer up for you. So we've got 790, take away 250, which is 540, and we can check that works by re-adding, doing the inverse by adding 250 plus 540. So 250 plus 500 is 750, add on 40 is 790. So it's just a real quick way of making sure we've got the inverse, and it works. So this is the call starter. We're going to be solving volume problems for call today as well. Joe and Tom are filling their cups with water from the jug. This is Joe's cup, this is Tom's cup, and here's the jug. Joe thinks she's going to get more water. Tom thinks they're going to have the same. So who's right and why? And if you can explain why using maths language, that would be really useful, and for anybody actually to explain that, even if you're not called today. And you could write that down in your book, an explanation using your reasoning. Okay, I'm going to put the answer up now. And we've got Tom is correct because they will have the same, because the capacity of these two cups are exactly the same. So if they're filling their cups with water from the jug, they're both going to have an equal amount because they're equal capacity. Okay, so we've got a little let's talk here. We're going to be using RUCSAC again today. I hope you got on well with that yesterday. I did see some work with some nice underlining going on and some really good answers. They were using the correct unit of measure, which was really good to see. There were some people that were skipping out that bar model step, which is really important, because as these get trickier you will be needing to show you're working out, and it's just a really good habit to get into. So even if you don't think you need to do it, it's just really good practice for you. Okay, so a car used 123 litres of petrol last week. The car needs 145 litres more petrol this week than last week? Can you find out how much petrol the car needs this week? So have a think about that. How would you set it out? Could a bar model help you? The idea of doing this is that it helps you to set it out really clearly, and you don't lose track of where you are. Okay, so would that help you, and what would that bar model look like? So if you wanted to try and do that on your catch-up book or on your paper today, that would be really good. Okay, so have a little talk it out loud to yourself or to somebody else, and get ready to move forward. Okay, so here we go. We've got the same question. We're going to learn this together. So we've got the car using 123 litres of petrol last week. So that's what we call a known fact. So we can get that written down straight away. And this week we know that the bar is going to need to be longer. So the bar needs to be longer this week because it needs more petrol. So there's some really good hinting words in there, which is the more word, and it's got that comparison word. So this week compared to last week, it needs 45 more. So if we put in this week and we make them the same and we add on that 45 at the end, this whole amount is what we're looking for. Okay, and we can tell last week it was this week it was the same as last week plus 45, so we're going to need to do an addition. So here is our addition, and we're going to we can actually do that one straight in our head because there's no crossing any boundaries of any tens or hundreds. So if we do 123 add on 45, it comes to 168. Just double checking that. So the car needs 168 litres of petrol this week, and then we can slot that in onto the bar model as well. Okay. So our challenge today is to do some two-step questions. Basically then, if you find out what the unknown part of your question is, and then you use that to answer another question that's given. Okay, so it's really useful for then interpreting sort of further along what you've found out. Okay, so what is the total volume of the petrol that the car will use in the 2 weeks? In the total of the 2 weeks, that's the next step on. We know last week's, and we now know this week's. So with that information, we can now give the answer to the whole question, this two-part question. It's quite clever, yeah, like it. And then we can add the two together, so we do 123 and 168, and that comes out at, oh, it's over here, 260, 70, 80, 91. Yes, so 291 litres over the 2 weeks. And actually it's a bit cheating there. I think I'd run out of room by this stage. What's the total volume? So you could write this it down as the total volume of petrol that the car will use for 2 weeks is 291 litres. Okay, I hope that's sort of straightforward. It's just that extra step. So, and it might even use, a known fact that you know already. It might just be putting the two amounts together. So a large aquarium holds 328 litres of water. This is in litres now. A smaller aquarium holds 89 litres less water than the large aquarium. Find the volume of water in both aquariums. So it's very similar. So again, it's a two-step because we're going to need to find the volume of water in both aquariums at the end. So the larger one holds 328, so we put that up the top. We can split this off. The smaller one is going to equal this. So again, we've got to do a subtraction. 328, trying to find that smaller amount. So this is the difference between the two. So 328 take away 89. That's a little bit trickier to do in your head. It's not impossible, but for this one I'm going to do a expanded method using my working out column. So I'm going to put the items in first of all, one over the other with a subtraction mark, with a subtraction symbol. I've lined these up, so I've got the ones underneath, the tens underneath, and this one's got no hundreds, so I just put a nothing there. And then I partition out, so I've got 300 and 20 and 8, and I've got 89, which is 0 and 80 and 9. That's not add. I'm not putting those adds in because it gets confusing, but we do it on the bottom line. So then we go to the ones column, and we have 8 take away 9, which we can't do, so we steal we rename, rather not steal, we rename a 10 from here. We take one of them off, we put it into our column, and we reduce that by 10, so the 20 becomes 10, and we've got the 10 over here with the 8, so it's 18 take away 9 is 9. Now we have 10 take away 80, which we can't do, so we take 100 this time. We change the 300 to 200, put the 100 over. Now we've got 110 take away 80, so 80, 90, 100, 110, that's 30. And then we've got 200 take away 0 is 200, and we're going to recombine these numbers and we get 239, and then we know that that's litres. Now it says find the volume of the water in both find the volume of water in both aquariums. So the volume of the smaller aquarium is 239, and the volume of the larger aquarium is 328. Okay, so you know both the amounts. To make a drink, Ruby used 340 millilitres of cold water and some orange squash. She used 250 more water than orange squash. So for this one, you can write this down in your book. Find the volume of the drink she made, and again it's a two-step problem because we're finding out we've got the water, we need to find out the orange squash, and then the final one is actually asking you for the whole of the drink. Okay, so that's a mix of the orange squash plus the water. So the orange squash, we don't know how much that is yet. We do know that the water she used was 340, and she used 250 millilitres more in the more water than she did the squash. So the squash is a lot less, and if we've got 340 and we take away the 250, we are left with 90. Okay, so the orange squash is 90 millilitres. So she used 90 millilitres of orange squash. To find the volume of the whole of the drink, we go back to the start and we find that she used 340 millilitres of water. Now we're going to add on the orange squash, which is 90, and the total is 430. So we can change that into millilitres, and Bob's your uncle, we're there. It's quite a lot of working out, and it's really easy to do, to find that the crux of that, that really important key bit that we haven't got, which is the orange squash, but then to get to the end and then use it to make up the whole of the volume, then that's a really good step. That's a year 3 getting into year 4 work. Okay, so these are tricky. Please don't feel that that they're too hard. Have a go. If they do get tricky, just have a think of it through, which is the bigger one, which is the smaller one. See, and it's always a comparing one to the other, so you should be able to to work that through. I'm hoping that will go really well because you've got everything you need. Keep going back to reading it, using those bar models, and they goggle me sometimes. I have to look at it and think, oh my goodness me, where am I? And having these bar models I think are really, really useful. So and it's a great way of keeping track as well. And if you wanted to put, if you know that your final question is to add up both of them, then you could put some brackets across the two of the 2 of the bars as well at the end, so you know you've got that step to go. It's another way of using your bar models. Okay, so yeah, do your best with these today. I think you do a good job with them. Okay, and so you're going to neatly draw your working out column. You're going to read the question, make a note of the unit of measure, underline the most important parts, get those bar models done, and your calculation. If you need to use that working out column, do. Don't forget to go over and use the what and calculate the ones first. We sort of work along. Ones, tens, and then hundreds. Show all your working out, and then your second step, add those volumes if you need to, or whatever it's asking you to do, and then put in your unit of measure. Don't forget the little units. Okay, so here's the questions. There's a couple on here. It's a nice little speedy car. It's a question with a motorbike and a car. Okay, and that's quite a tricky one, and it's always a very funny one, this one, because it says about being in 2 weeks, and sometimes they put in extra information that you doesn't really make any difference. So so just be aware of that. Sometimes they can throw other numbers in, like 2 weeks, and it make absolutely no difference to what you're calculating. So they're a little bit trappish, those little traps. All right, so do your best with those today, and I shall speak to you very soon. Bye for now.